one of the biggest sources for finding distressed properties that many investors are already comfortable with is foreclosures. Now, foreclosures.com will give you a list of pending foreclosures in the states or counties of your choice. Keep in mind, it is a paid service, but you can see many different listings in the top cities, counties, and all that good stuff. With that, you can use the foreclosure list to find banks that are getting ready to foreclose on assets with the whole goal of contacting them and getting on their list of investors. Their note investors list that they send lists out to on a regular basis. You want to make sure that the banks have distressed assets on their books and they're going to have more besides the ones that are listed on the site. Investors I know use the foreclosures list more as a source to find banks and use that information to contact them. Every state has different foreclosure listing services. If you don't want to use foreclosures.com, which we use them only as a reference, once again, keep in mind these services might be paid. Okay, so once you have got one of these services and you have found your area of interest and you found the address, description, the mortgage's name, the mortgager means the borrower's first and last name. You want to see who the actual mortgagee is, the lender. The two relevant pieces of information when you're looking for a bank is the mortgagee and the trustee. The trustee is the actual attorney who's performing the foreclosure. When you do get the bank's info, get rid of the big banks. Get rid of the Banks of America, the Chases, the Citibanks, the Wells Fargos, etc. The bigger banks on there that have so much information or so many deals, they're not going to sell a one-off deal. They're not going to sell you a small pool. You need to look for the smaller banks, the smaller companies that may have 1, 2 to 3 listings in your local market that will sell you notes. Some companies sell some of the notes on properties that they've built. Also, some of these private individuals in these services are people that have lent money out. You may want to contact them to raise funds. Speaking with the trustee might give you a better insight on if a private investor might want to lend out for a good return. Now, after you get rid of the big banks, you should have a more refined list of banks in your area. Now, this gives you much more of a better list from the banks that are more likely to sell a one-off note. Now, our whole goal when we contact the banks is not to go after the address of the foreclosure. The goal is to use the address as a warm lead into the asset manager. So let's go to MetaBank here. So I'm going to call Keisha, who's the asset manager at MetaBank. Also drop an email to Keisha on a specific property from the foreclosure listing site. And also don't forget to leave a voicemail and see if they sell a note. They're probably going to tell you no. And I'll be like, okay, that's fine. But would you mind sending me the list of everything else you have available for sale? If you're going to get a much higher percentage of return on your phone calls, on your emails, people responding to your voicemails, if you got a warm lead. Well, yes, you are cold calling the asset manager for the first time around. If you got a physical address or property address, it's a much higher open rate because the rate for you is much higher. So that's how you use the foreclosure list to identify banks in your local area who have properties they're getting ready to foreclose on. Because what does this really mean? If they got one distressed note, then they're getting ready to foreclose on, they should have 5 others, or even probably got 50 more than that they're probably looking to get rid of. So that's how you can use the foreclosure list, foreclosure listing services, foreclosures.com, by buying a list, finding out who the lender is, and use that as your foot in the door to the asset managers.